What's going on, guys? In this video I'll show you how to wrap your handle face with Vivid's new Tek R and ultra gloss khaki green vinyl in this case without taking off the handle from your door. As always, start with your handle fully cleaned with alcohol and water and a microfiber cloth, and have a piece of vinyl cut out that's going to be long enough and tall enough to cover the face of the handle. With that ready to go ahead and peel your vinyl and then attach it to the very front edge of your handle, as you see me doing there. And once you've got that hooked onto it, go ahead and start applying it over the beginning front flat part of the handle. Use a little heat to soften up the vinyl if you need to, as you saw me do there. And then what I'm doing is I'm stretching the vinyl just a little bit to give it some horizontal wrinkles, as you saw me doing, so that the vinyl on that edge there will basically shrink wrap itself around the upper and lower edges of the handle. Once you have that, I like to use a micro squeegee to ensure that on the far edge of the handle itself, everything is tucked in and sealed down nicely. And once the front side of your vinyl is fully secured to the handle's front edge, go ahead and apply the rest of the vinyl to the flat side of the handle, as you see me doing there. And then I like to go ahead and use the back side of the handle where it pulls out as a place to go ahead and trim that out. And we'll do the back side of the handle a little bit after we finish this main part here. Seal the top and bottom edges, use a little bit of heat to make sure everything is laid down nicely, that there's no air bubbles, and that everything is tucked in nicely and ready for trimming. With the vinyl fully set on the face of your handle, go ahead and trim out carefully along the top and bottom edges. I like to go and trim just on the top flats and the bottom flat of the handle as it goes over the edge there, which allows for a little bit of overlap for the next pieces of vinyl that will go over that. If you're hand cutting this, take your time and use minimal pressure and a super sharp blade to ensure that you're not going to cut through the vinyl onto the paint. You just want to basically cut the vinyl just enough so that it will essentially score the vinyl enough that you can pull the vinyl off cleanly without cutting into the paint. Do that for the top and bottom sides, and take your time doing this process. With the front side of the handle now done, it's time to do the back little portion of the handle, and essentially you're going to be doing the same thing, just it's on a smaller scale. So essentially set up the far left edge, in this case, of the vinyl onto the edge of the handle and then apply it to the flat. Use a little bit of heat to soften the vinyl if you need to, and give it very light stretch to kind of get those horizontal wrinkles so that when you heat it again a little bit later, the vinyl will basically wrap itself over the top and bottom edges. Trim out along the back edge of there, and then trim out the top and bottom of the face edges, as you see me doing in the video. Again, be careful not to cut through your paint or through the vinyl onto the paint, or use knifeless tape if you're uncomfortable cutting directly onto the vinyl itself. When that's done, make sure that everything is sealed nice and tightly. The next step is to apply the second color to the top and bottom flats of the handle. You see I've got my piece already cut out, and I'm going to go ahead and apply it, and I'm locking down that piece of vinyl along that hard upper edge of my handle in this case. And notice I'm kind of giving it a horizontal stretch to create horizontal wrinkles. That makes it easier to fold, for it to lay down and flatten across the top of the face, as you see me doing. Now applying with my squeegee. Once I've got that nice and down across the top of the handle onto the door edge, I'm using my squeegee and now my micro squeegee to make sure that the vinyl is tucked in where the handle edge and the door surface meet together. And I'm doing that for the front side and for the back side, as you see me doing there. Use a little bit of heat to help you conform the vinyl as necessary, but you don't necessarily need to stretch it. Again, use your micro squeegee to make sure everything is tucked in nice and tightly and ready to trim this out. Once you have that all nice and set and you're ready to go ahead and make sure you have a sharp blade and start trimming out. And if you tuck this in nicely, you can see that it'll form a nice cut line to cut along the back side of the handle where the handle meets the door. Trim out that piece, take off the excess, and then use a little heat to make sure everything seals down and is tucked in nicely. And then once you're ready with that, I went ahead and just trimmed across the flat edge to have the green overlap onto the carbon fiber, and make sure you cut down onto where, just past, in this case below, where the vinyl overlaps onto the carbon fiber. And this gives a little bit of overlap and a nice clean seam. You're not trying to create a butt seam here. You want a little overlap so things kind of hold together really well. Once I reached the front side, I trimmed out the back of the handle where it meets into the door. And again, if you need to, make sure that everything is tight, tucked in tightly so that you have a good clean cut, as you see me doing there with my micro squeegee. Once you have that process down, you can go ahead and peel off that vinyl that you trimmed across the face and across the back. Make sure everything is tucked in nicely. Trim everything out if you need to, a little bit more, a little better. Use your micro squeegee, use a little bit of heat to make sure everything is sealed down nicely and shrinks down nicely, as well as you see the vinyl doing right there. Once I have that all set and done, what I like to do then is make sure everything is sealed down tightly with my squeegee and my micro squeegee, and then I'm going to set up for trimming out the back side of the handle. Now in this case, I'm not going to wrap the inside back of the handle, so I just set up a good cut line, and then you can see me just really carefully and lightly trimming out the vinyl along the body line of the top side of the handle, just going down into the handle a little bit itself. If you really want to wrap the back of the handle, just basically mold that vinyl down behind it, but I don't see any need to, because you're not going to ever see that, and it gets a little bit difficult and wonky to do unless you have the handle off of the door itself. Again, if you're trimming directly on here, be very careful just to score the vinyl. You can see I took a couple passes to cut because I was cutting so lightly that I didn't cut through the first time. Trim out that little piece, the gap where the back and front of the handle meet together, and the top side is now done. And essentially you're going to do the bottom side of the handle the exact same way. Have your piece cut out, apply it the same way, and then follow the same trimming process. And once you finish trimming everything out, go ahead and make sure everything's tucked in nicely and heat everything down. And this is the final result, creating a nice custom two-tone carbon fiber and body colored vinyl handle wrap without being able to take the handle off of the door itself.